All right, everybody. Last Saturday, Suga Sean O'Malley defeated Aljamain Sterling in the second round of their Bantamweight championship title fight. To a lot of people, including myself, Suga Sean O'Malley was still an unproven commodity in the UFC Bantamweight division. Sure, he earned his spot. He earned his title shot. Many, including myself, weren't quite sure if it was just his persona, his larger-than-life charisma, just unyielding self-belief that sort of put him in that position more so than his resume. He shattered, and he obviously, as you've probably seen, in the second round, countered a lunging left by Aljamain, which put him extremely off balance. Suga Sean saw it coming. He dodged it. He evaded it accordingly and countered over the top with a very nice right hand that sent Aljamain down and ultimately led to his demise. Now, congratulations to Suga Sean for capturing the UFC World Bantamweight title. But he has more contenders to deal with in the UFC, which MMA is his chosen profession. Like many successful MMA champions or former champions, he is trying to toss his proverbial hat into the boxing ring. He stated that he wants to fight Gervonta Davis. He said it in a press conference. He went on First Take to say that he would like to eventually have a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. They both fight at about 135. Now here's the thing. He did say he didn't want to do it right away. Suga Sean did mention that he would, defend his UFC Bantamweight belt and establish himself as a UFC great before trying to take on Gervonta Tank Davis. I imagine he doesn't want to wait too long. He want to strike while the iron is hot. What I noticed about what he said on First Take was that he mentions how short Gervonta is. So why at 5'11", fighting at 135, now it's got to be hard for him to make that weight. He's 28 years old, so to hear him point out and state what we all know is that Gervonta is a shorter fighter, okay? So Suga Sean is 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Gervonta is about 5'5" with about a 67-inch reach. So although they might both weigh in at about 135 in this hypothetical fight, Suga Sean is definitely much taller and much rangier. MMA fighters crossing over into the boxing world generally don't have that great of success due to the obvious difference in striking styles. Now that he's gained the championship, is trying to replicate the formula of what Conor McGregor made possible. So Conor made it possible with his fight with Floyd Mayweather, and Jake Paul has made it comical in the multiple fights he's had with former MMA legend. Suga Sean is trying to go that route, get a big payday against one of the best in boxing. I personally don't like it. We've seen that it doesn't really go too well for the MMA fighter crossing over into the boxing world. Of course, they want to get that big payday. Boxing pays out more than UFC, generally speaking. That's why he's calling out a big name like Tank. But then again, he's trying to pick on a shorter guy with a shorter reach. It's almost like you could call it weight bully shit. Like, I don't know what Suga Sean walks around at 5'11", but I don't think 135 is quite his natural weight. So I think this trend of MMA fighters crossing over to fight boxers, although some of the matchups can be intriguing, we've got Francis Ngannou taking on Tyson Fury in a couple months. Things are more like sideshows. It's more like you're watching out of a morbid curiosity. There's always that off chance, that puncher's chance that someone with a strong right hand or just generally strong punching power could connect on something and get lucky and defeat the more skilled boxer in his arena. The likelihood of that happening is very low, and we haven't really seen it happen yet. So I prefer to see Suga Sean O'Malley, defend his title or attempt to defend his title in the UFC, and if he's capable, clean out his division and cement and stamp his name and his legacy in his era in that division, rather than trying to create crossover fights, which really are just going to distract from, one, what Suga Sean needs to accomplish in the UFC, the promotion that he's under contract for, and what Gervonta has to accomplish in the world of boxing. There's many fights that we'd like to see Gervonta have against fellow boxers that would be relevant to their rankings and their championships. And the same could be said for Suga Sean O'Malley. There's fights that we'd like to see him have in the UFC that are relevant to what's going on there. I know these UFC guys, they're popular, they make a big name for themselves, capitalizing on their fame when it's at its peak, when it's at its pinnacle, and when they can cash in the most. But these crossover fights really don't prove much, and they don't do much to determine the greatness of either fighter in their respective sport. So, like I said, it's really just a sideshow. I think we're all kind of getting sick of it. We want to see the best boxers fight the best boxers. We want to see the best MMA practitioners fight the best MMA practitioners. And these crossovers don't really prove much because it's usually always the MMA guy going to the boxing side of things because that's where the big money's at. So I'm not really interested in seeing a fight like that. I know it's a good thing for Suga Sean to say because it builds on the momentum he just launched up into the atmosphere with his win last weekend. But other than just being a promotional ploy and a marketing tactic, I really don't see it as anything that we should take seriously. But I'm no expert. I just call it how I see it. You tell me what you think. Are you getting tired of these boxing MMA crossovers? Do they interest you? Do they prove anything to you when they take place? Or is it just an obvious cash grab on the part of the people involved? Anyways, I'm no expert. Just call it how I see it. And until next time, UNO.